Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing? Sorry about the delay there. Hopefully, you can see and hear us. And everything
We're,
okay?
I can
Yep.
see us. I can hear us.
Boom, we're in. How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Good to see you, or not, as the case may be. You can see us.
There's such a long delay. Let's see, I've got to go this way. Sorry, I was just like trying to hide myself behind the icon just over there. I was like, see, peer through. I was trying to line my eyes up with the letters, but well, it's too low down, and there's such a long delay that I could, like, it was just like, yeah, it wasn't working. Yeah. So today we're discussing: do you need a private tutor? Pros and cons of having tutoring. So if you've had a tutor, let us know what subjects. Was that GCSE? Was that A level? What were the main reasons that you chose to get a tutor in the first place? What did it cost per hour? How often did you see that tutor? Was that once a week? Was it an hour and a half per week? I only used to do 90 minutes. I think all of us have done private tutoring as a teacher. So we've got quite a lot of insight into that and the pros and cons that it can have. So let's, yeah, if you can just answer any of those questions, that would be great for us to get some feedback. If you've got questions about getting a tutor, maybe you're thinking about that, then let us know, and let us know why you'd like them, and we can maybe give you some information as to whether you think that's a good use of the money or not.
Yeah, I remember I did a fair bit of private tutoring when I was kind of working in school and college, and I think the benefits for me as a teacher, as a tutor, like the one-on-one, so like physically being able to, they can physically ask me questions and stuff like that. But what was really frustrating for me as a tutor, let alone as the student, is like I got zero contact with that person for at least a week. It's like the students there. They could have just text me, I suppose, but equally, it's like, well, you're not paying for my time if I'm not sat in that room with you right now. And it's like they didn't feel like they could. And for me, that I knew I wanted to go and do something with them that following week. I knew what we were planning to do, but by the time a week got around, that student had been like, I've got this question, this question, this question, this question. It's like, well, you don't actually get around to what you plan to do, because over the week there's so many questions built up, so it's tricky.
Yeah, I definitely found that it was quite disjointed throughout the year. It's like not, it's too expensive, no matter who you are as a tutor, to do as much as you really want to do. You can see what you'd like that student to achieve, but that would require multiple hours per week to make sure to keep on top of them, to make sure everything's on track, to be there when they need you. And it's very difficult. The only time that really worked effectively for me was when I was doing like intensives in the run up to exams, April, May, June, when I might be seeing a student for 2 hours twice a week. And then, I could say, let's get through this past paper, and I could kind of set them my own homeworks and like really dig down into what they needed as an individual. 1 hour a week was challenging as to be effective and good value for money as a tutor. It was tough.
Also, the course is so much quicker than anybody realized. It's like once a week feels like quite a lot. If doing something once a week, like I'm meant to do hot yoga once a week, and I haven't been for weeks, not just because of lockdown, just because I'm busy, and then before you know it, it's been 6 weeks and I haven't been. So when you're actually committing to it, once a week feels like a lot, but the number of weeks that we have between now and the final exams is less than 20 in terms of like when you need to start getting really ready for your revision. So if I started with a student now and we were aiming to finish the spec by the end of March, that's less than 20 sessions we'd have together, and that's pretty tough. If you divide a textbook by 20, that's a lot each week. So yeah, partly not being able to check in, but once a week, yeah, I found it very frustrating. Very frustrating. I much prefer working with students in TT because we get that almost daily contact. If, for a while it might be daily contact and then every other day and then a week, but it means that like that contact is much, much closer to the need and to the question that they're stuck on, which makes the learning much more effective.
Oh, I
Yeah.
100% agree. Like my experience, the effectiveness. Do we know where that echo is coming from?
I'm not getting an
I don't
echo.
know. Maybe it's just for me, in which case I'll deal with it. Yeah, my effectiveness as a teacher is like at least 10 times. My course is way more effective than I was as an individual, because it's there on demand, and because it's way more adaptable to what the student needs. If you want to binge 3 hours at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's options available to you. As a tutor, I'm not going to come round to your house at 3 o'clock in the morning with 5 minutes notice. It's just not practical. Plus, you can then ask me questions to come to the drop-in live session if you've got questions. It's just way more effective, I think, from a student, and way better value for money. But there is still a role for private tutoring, I think, sometimes. And if anyone's got any questions, I know Scarlett said, is it a bit early for year 12s? Totally depends on where you're at. Scarlett, I know you asked me lots of questions. I know that you're pushing for that A star and you're really keen, you're really motivated. For you, it's probably not the option right now. You have a TT membership, so you've got access to me and the other teachers outside of your school or college. But you're going to find, if you are really struggling with the concepts and you are finding it very difficult to get your head around the introductory components of the A level, maybe you got it was a stretch to be allowed onto the courses, the A-level courses. Maybe your school or college set a minimum of a 6 at GCSE before you can carry on a subject at A-level. If you got that 5-6 boundary and you're now struggling in the first term, maybe it is a good thing to jump on with the tutor, because if you let it get 3 terms down the line and then you're now got 3 terms worth of content to try and catch up on that you didn't really understand, that's a giant boulder or obstacle to overcome. So in some circumstances, getting a tutor in, you don't have to do it once a week. Maybe that's 2 hours once a month if the money's not there to do it. It's totally an independent thing, which is the benefit of a private tutor, obviously.
Speaking of the money, that's another reason why I prefer working with TT students. I worked out at the weekend, I don't know why I was doing this calculation. I was just walking along in town and I was doing this calculation, and I just checked it on my calculator because I'm really bad at mental maths, but I am right that it's about, if you're using TT to support your homework, the amount that we would recommend is about £2 an hour to use all the resources and have access to me. And that's if you only have one subject. So if you've got 3 subjects, then obviously it gets cheaper, but that's like, most private tutors are between £30 and £60 an hour, if not more. And so, yeah, obviously, if I had an hour individually with a student, then I could tap more into what exactly they were having a problem with. But I honestly think that having the contact with the student in the course, with them asking me questions and me responding and then coming to the live lessons, I honestly think that that is way better in terms of learning for the student. If it was a friend of mine's kid, I would recommend that they have a TT membership and work with me in the course than me doing private tuition, because then it's constant and it's much cheaper and it's much better, which is like one of the things that we wanted to do when we were, building these courses, is to make good education that is responsive and personalized more affordable than what we were charging before, because we were all doing it before, charging, and now we can reach way more people, which is really exciting.
The other thing, sorry Rich, the other thing that I love about TT students compared to private tutoring is that we've been working hard to kind of build a community of students as well. You're all really like-minded students. You want to get on, you want to do something. I would wager that the vast majority of our members found us themselves. They were browsing the internet, or they saw an ad, or they saw one of our YouTube videos, like, oh, that looks okay, I'll have a look at that. Whereas I don't know about you guys when you did private tutoring, but one of the first questions I asked whenever I started with a new tutee was like, okay, so why do you feel you need a private tutor? And 9 times out of 10, guess what the answer was? Mum told me I needed to do it. Dad told me I needed a private tutor. So it's like they're there under duress, so but yeah, I mean, our TT members are all really motivated, really excited. We just got some new BAs. We've got our 12 new BAs for the year. We're going to be announcing those next week, I should imagine. Just need to finalize a few things with them. But they're all on the same page. They all just want to do well and use the resources and share the love. So yeah, that's another benefit, I think, of this online community that we're building. Sorry, Rich.
Absolutely. I can't remember exactly what I was going to say, but in terms of like engaging with students, like Scarlett asks me questions a couple of times a week, so I'm like in probably at least 3 times a week I'm responding to your questions there, and it's great to see someone using the course and like, yeah, that's exactly what it's there for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like to know, let's try and engage the folks out there a little bit more. Have any of you had private tutoring? Yes or no? And if so, what was it per hour? I mean, let's just get a national average out there. It's hugely variable. You can pay £10 an hour to get sort of a last year's A-level student to do some teaching for you. Those students have just done their A-levels are probably not going to be the most experienced in terms of they might have done a different exam board to the one that you're doing, for example. They might have learned different content. There's a whole range, and generally speaking, you're going to get what you pay for in terms of as a tutor. The tutoring industry is a bit weird in that for most of the year, it's a very difficult thing as a tutor to try and get students. September, nobody wants you. And obviously throughout the summer, no one's paying for tutoring then. And then you have this like big boom between April, May and June in the run up to exams. And so I was fully booked from April to June. Like I couldn't take on new students during that time because I was effective and popular. Whereas, if you leave it to the last minute to try and find a tutor, then you're probably going to have what's left, which might not necessarily be the highest quality tutors out there. So £40 an hour, £40 an hour, 45 an hour.
Wow.
I have seen, I'd say national average, I think, is 30 to 40 now. It used to be 20 to 30. From what I've seen over the last couple of years, it's very much pushing up. When I finished tutoring, because I was more than double £45 an hour for my time, and it's just because I couldn't earn this regular hours throughout the year. I could only really have April, May, June when people wanted to pay me. The only way that I could earn sort of a salary was to put up my hourly rate. 20 for GCSE. Sometimes it is a little bit less for GCSE. Sometimes you see that because maybe you need a little bit less experience, although I'd argue that a good quality tutor, a professional tutor, is an hour.
That's the other thing is that I think it is difficult for you to find out what the quality of the tutor is, because teachers get a class set of results and they get value added for that class, and there is some measure of how well that teacher is able to prepare students for an exam. But if you're with a tutor, you don't really know because you've never taken the exam. And unless you get the tutor recommended from someone else who wasn't doing well and then did really well, you are kind of gambling a little bit with that money. It's a lot of money to gamble with. And it's also your time because you don't have time to see 2 tutors. So you do have to be really careful. I know of a lot of people who are tutoring the subject that they're not really experts in. So they'll say, oh, yeah, I'm a physics teacher, but I'll tutor the maths A level as well. But they've never done a maths A level paper. They've never taught the maths A level in a classroom. They've never been a maths A level examiner. They haven't done a maths degree, but they will charge you £30, £40 an hour to give you advice about how to take an exam they've never taken. So do be wary if you're getting a tutor. Don't just assume that handing over 30, 40 quid means that you are going to get a grade improvement as a result.
Absolutely. I think, marketing yourself as a tutor, it's not like if I went out and claimed that I was a doctor, that would be completely illegal because I've got no doctor, I've got no medical training whatsoever. So I'm not allowed legally to call myself a doctor, but there's nothing stopping anybody calling themselves a tutor for something, so I could probably market Dexter as a tutor, because he knows probably more chemistry than most of the students I teach because he sits listening to me all day. The only reason he hasn't passed the exam is because he doesn't have any thumbs. So that's but yeah, so tutors can go out and just call themselves a tutor. It's like, oh, I've just got myself a third degree and a third, like a bottom level degree in I don't know, like just botany or something like that, and all of a sudden decide, oh, I'm just going to become an A-level biology teacher. And it's like, well, no, it doesn't work like that,
You don't even need that. You could, as an A-level student in year 13, set yourself up as a tutor and tutor the AS. You could tutor the year 12. You could become a tutor. You haven't done the exam yourself yet, but there's no legal...
I would say as just a piece of advice, but if you are paying for a private tutor, is to just keep an eye on the proportion of the hour that they are talking and they are writing. And the higher the proportion of the class in which they are talking and they are writing, and the lower the proportion where you are talking and you are writing, then the less learning you're getting from that session. It might feel great. It might feel like they're explaining everything really, really well. But learning is an active process. And a good teacher makes the student pick up the pen, makes the student talk. And yeah, you guide the learning. But just as a measure, just if you have got a tutor and you're thinking, oh, I'm wondering now how much progress I'm making, just think about that in particular. Just think about that proportion. And if all you're doing is listening, then you could have just watched a video. That's not personalized teaching. That's not intensive learning.
There's a couple of students in here, Rama and Scarlett, saying that they tutored while they were in sixth form. Scarlett's doing it now. It seems like Rama did it previously. I think if you're tutoring GCSE, and I think, you know what, I think that's a really good thing because it's still fresh in your mind. You know what worked for you in the exam. I think teaching the level below and tutoring the level below is okay. And, you know, it's like you're helping somebody out and you're helping yourself out, especially if you're still doing those subjects. Because it's just reinforcing your knowledge as well. And actually, that's a real true measure, and why I've always been an advocate of working in groups on stuff, is that if you can explain it to somebody else and get them to understand it, then you know it inside out. You know, if you're able to get somebody who doesn't know anything about ionization energies to understand the concept, then you've nailed it. If you can explain it to somebody else, you can explain it in the exam. So it's a real good measure of that as well.
Yeah, part of the fast learning principles is teach and test. So teaching someone else that recall, that ability without any notes or being prompted with anything to be able to explain it and answer questions on it is a really good way of consolidating your own knowledge. So there's a question there from Toby: is it better to teach yourself in some cases? I mean, generally, you're not going to go to a private tutor and pay £40 an hour for something that you can teach yourself. Typically, that's going to be the best use of that time is to overcome problems that you can't solve on your own, or to get advice and feedback on the work that you've done and how to change your wording or your approach or your method to increase the marks and grades on your exam at the end of it. So, I mean, I'd say if you can teach yourself, obviously, from my perspective, I'd say try out tailored tutors for a week for free to see. I think it's a much better resource because it's 24/7 and you can access it anytime and all that kind of stuff. I'd say that is going to be a better solution. If it's in a subject that we don't do, then maybe there's some other alternatives out there. But yeah, just do your research before getting a tutor, I think.
Yeah. Cool. So I think, obviously we're really biased here, you know, and we've all kind of done tutoring in the past, but, you know, there's a better way, and I think it's what we're doing now in terms of, I think some students actually say to me that, you know, it's like, oh, TT is very expensive, but the thing is, compared to tutoring, as Ronnie touched on just before.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't thinking about it because I think it's expensive, but yeah, like if you
just say that, you know, so
use it for like less than an hour a day, then it's going to be costing you less than £2, I think it is, if you've got all three subjects, something like that. I'm not very good at numerical calculations.
Even if you use it half an hour a day, that's 15 hours. So what's that?
And the
80 quid for one subject divided by 15. That's still £5 an hour if you use it for half an hour a day throughout the month, which most students use it a lot more than that. But it's because I think it's a monthly. People are like, oh, £40 an hour for tutoring. Well, if you have it once a week, that's like £160 a month, you know, for 4 hours, and that's it. So, yeah, there's no competition in that respect. But I think, you know,
about the speed with which you can learn. So one of the things that we've put a huge amount of work into and continue to put a huge amount of work into is learning about all of the research into learning and into what creates effective learning, because we know that you don't have 100 hours a week to spend like doing all of these different things for learning. You're trying to get the maximum amount of learning into this little pocket of time. And so everything that we've done, everything that we've put into the course, all of the systems, all of the advice is designed to squeeze the most learning out of the smallest amount of time. So if you are doing half an hour a day in tailored tutors, you will learn lots from doing half an hour a day because it's designed precisely to do that. So I think there's that as well. Like I taught myself a lot of the things that I've learned academically because I had babies before my A levels, so I was at home teaching myself, and then I taught myself my degree because I had my babies at home, toddlers. And yeah, I can teach myself for sure. I know how to do that, but it takes a lot longer because you have to create that landscape yourself. You don't have someone saying, look, there are 3 different types. There's this type, this type, this type. If you get this type, you do that and that. If you get this type, you also have to do that. So by having somebody who understands the course and understands the landscape of the course and can direct you, one of the things I'm going to do today at 7:45 in my lesson is explain to the second years. I will do domain and range, which is what they've asked me to do, but I'm going to explain to them why I'm not doing that for the whole lesson, that it's worth 1 mark, and that we can leave it till the month before the exam and it will make no difference. However, if we don't learn the trig identities and learn the derivatives now and start practicing them, there's going to be huge mark loss. So you don't know that if you're teaching it yourself. How are you supposed to know what's worth lots of marks, what's worth hardly anything? So that's another really important reason for having somebody organise the course who knows what it is like to learn the course and puts it in a special order for you and focuses you on what's going to get you the most marks.
Yeah, this week in my live class, I'm doing I'm dictating the content. Normally I let students vote on the content, which is great because you can tell me what you're working on right now, where you want to improve. But also I know from the hindsight of looking from the exam end of the course, looking backwards, I know where the pitfall traps are. I know where students don't do enough work in it and where they're scrabbling at the end of the year. It's like, oh, haven't done any of those things. So I can predict that for you, and I can start inserting them into your learning right now, so that when you get to the end, it's like, oh, actually, I do realize now why it was important to do those math skills earlier on, and those bits and pieces. There was one comment. Does anyone know where I can get a reference from? I'm in your second gap year right now and can't get one from your old sixth form. What do you want the reference for? I'm assuming that's not for university applications this year, because obviously they're all kind of done and dusted. And I mean, just let us know what the purpose of the reference is. Is it just a personal reference? Is it for a job interview? Is it for a university application? It will kind of depend on what that is.
I would also remind all of the second years about our new Sunday group. It just reminded me, saying that there's only about 20 Sundays, less than 20 Sundays now, until we start proper full-on revision in April and May. And so what we're doing on Sunday evenings is for all TT members who are in the second year to get together and do organised, constructed, supported AS revision. So if you can come along to that, you don't have to come every single week, but even if you can come along just a few times, it's going to give you a little pocket in the week where you can go back over all the AS in a really supported way. I'm going to give you advice individually about what you should be doing and how to best organise your AS notes and how to go through them regularly, so that by the time we do get to March, April, May, you're not having to relearn everything from the first year.
Oh, for sure. It's so important. Because, Rich and I, as well as Ronnie, encourage all of our year 13s to come to like the first part of our live sessions as well, just to kind of go over and top up on that AS content. Because, we are kind of doing things pretty much from scratch. It's for year 12, but there's no harm in going back. You think you know something, you're like, oh yeah, I knew I got that at the time in year 12, but then there's a lot of water gone under the bridge between, you learning about Redux for the first time and doing it again in year 13. So it's always good to kind of top up on those foundational things from AS. It's so, so important, and it'll save you so much time and stress when it comes to exam time.
I was just going to touch back on, so the reference for UCAS, so it's for uni. What format does that take place at? Is it that there's a space for the academic teacher to it's not your personal reference, it's your reference from a I don't know, because that has to be like printed or written.
So they're made up of, usually it's a contribution from personal tutor, possibly head of sixth form, but definitely their subject tutors from school goes into one block reference. And we can't sadly do that because we don't have talking about one-to-one contact and personal contact with students. we wouldn't have anything to write. We could say how many lectures you've completed, what your traffic lights look like in the course, do you come to live classes and stuff like that. But yeah, we couldn't give, because there's a lot of personal stuff in there as well, like a personal reference and academics. So, you know, we're not in a position to be able to do that. So.
And there's a question from Noor about, do we do private tutoring? Right now I give 110% of my energy to my students in the course. I just don't have the time to take on individual private tutees. I'm sure there are, I would suggest use the course first. If you want additional work, like one-to-one help on top of that, there are lots of individuals out there.
Honestly, if it was a friend of mine and it was their son or daughter doing A-level maths, I would say better for them to use TT and have access to me all the time than me do an hour a week with them.
Yeah,
honestly,
that's what I've done. Yeah, I've done exactly that for my friend's son this year, starting year 12.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if there's something in there that you feel like we're unable to help you with, let us know in the comments. You have direct access to the three of us in each of the different subjects. Let us know what it is that you feel like you would need that additional help with, and we're constantly working to try and improve and solve any problem that an A-level student studying biology, chemistry, maths would have. So let us know, and we'll start working on trying to find a fix for it if it's not there already.
Speaking of fixes and stuff, should we let people know what we're doing later this week in terms of releasing the new layout and stuff?
Yeah, why not? Why not? I would also actually, but whilst it's just on the top of my, I'm going to jump in. Let's go straight back to that. I can't actually screen share. I was going to show you anyone out here who hasn't left us a Facebook review. Facebook have changed a few things in the background. All our old reviews that were actually reviews rather than recommends have disappeared from, we had over 200 and now we're down to less than 100. So anyone who's used TT, genuinely engaged with it, had a good time with it, or not for that matter, just actually used it and has an opinion that's based in their experience, I'd love you to leave a public Facebook review and just let us know what you thought of it, so that others can share from your experience, because it's a decent investment compared to a tutor. It's great value for money, but it's still quite an expensive commitment. So the more reviews that are out there from people who've genuinely used it and engaged with it, the better, because then it can help people inform their decision as to whether it's right for them or not. So Taylor Tutors on Facebook, it's now not a review, it's a recommendation or not. So you can go ahead, and I would love you to see what you've got to say.
I'd really love Charisma to come into the maths lessons today, if you would like. Talking about this.
Do you want me to show you, Charisma, how to get started a free trial?
It's just like, it's so good that you're saying now, is it October, that there's so much year 13 content, and it's October, and like we can deal with that, and we can deal with that relatively quickly and get you feeling much more calm. And it's so good when students come across us in September, October, November, December, rather than May. Because like obviously we jump at, like, often help students in May when they've got 1 week till the exam and their teachers only just finished the content, but it's a lot harder to help people than if people start getting a membership now and then using it slowly and using a little bit each day.
So just for
make that screen, I don't know whether you can just select that output as full screen.
I can indeed. Let's do this. Let's take us all away, apart from this. Okay, guys, so if you're not a TT member and you'd like to just try us for a week, and it means in that week you can use us as you can a member, so it's not restrictive in any way. So all you need to do is you can choose your subject at the top here if you want, but all we're doing here is clicking the Get Started button on the homepage. You select your subjects. Then Charisma, you were saying you're doing all three, so we just select all three and then just hit that button, Start 7-day free trial. And all that does is take you to a form, you fill out your details. It will bill you after 7 days, okay? But if you cancel before that, of course, you won't get billed. But you just need to put your name and email.
You can see if you sign up today, it'll be the 26th of October. So you could just set a note in your diary for the 25th, maybe, and then just, if you don't want to continue it, just end your subscription on the 25th.
Yeah, that's it. So that's all it is. Like literally all it is, guys. So We'll just kind of put these back. Oh, we're back in a different order, but that doesn't matter. Another question actually from Suleiman. In the live classes, can I join and participate in the background, such as mute your mic? So the way the live classes work, and we know not every student has the confidence or would like to get involved directly, but all our live classes is us talking. We're live on the video, we're sharing an iPad, and it's a chat like you're seeing now on YouTube. So unless we invite somebody to speak, and if they want to speak, then we can do that, but 99.9% of the time it just works in the chat. Maybe there's the odd poll and stuff, but yeah, you don't have to be on video, you don't have to say anything, you're just part of the class and you communicate through the chat on the side. So
yeah, sometimes in my live classes, that's exactly how it works. It's just a chat, you don't have your video or audio on. I've been doing some drop-in sessions for students to bring me questions on a much smaller group basis, just a handful of students, and sometimes I'll invite students to turn their camera or their microphone on if they want to, but generally we just do microphone, have a conversation. But for all the live classes stuff, you don't have it. By default, you cannot turn on your video or your audio unless you're specifically invited by the host. Fab. Okay, well, we've done our 30-odd minutes. Any more questions about live classes? I was actually meant to say private tutors, like whether you yeah, any question about that? That was the theme of today's Monday check-in. And any other questions in general, we'll just take one more each and then we'll call it a day. And obviously come to my live class Thursdays, 6 o'clock is when they start. So if you're not a member, join the free trial, get involved. There's a page for all the live events of the week, so you can go to, yeah, just come to that page and all the information's there. If not, you can ask me a question. If you can't find it, every single lesson in the course in any subject has the questions box at the bottom. Send a question through to us and we'll see that and get back to you and point you in the right direction.
So we've just had a few quick questions at the end about the course and signing up to the course and stuff. So Mariah, I do apologize for the pronunciation there. What if I'm able to put payment information when the free for the free trial of tailored tutors, and you want access to the free trial for a week? And if I like it, then I pay for it. Well, you do need a credit card to join up for the free trial. It's just the way Teachable sets it up for us. As I say, you're in no danger whatsoever of any money leaving that account. If you cancel it, like Rich said, put a date in a note in your diary for like 6 days time to remind yourself to cancel it before that payment goes out. But you do need a card of some description in order to do that. HFR8, how much is it? Sorry, Rich.
Can be a debit card or a credit card, but it does need you payment details of some sort.
Another question, how much is it? Well, it's $79 a month for one subject, $129 for two subjects, and $149 for three subjects. So there's a huge discount there for multiple subjects. And as we were saying before, that works out at less than, if you use it for half an hour per day, which is a lot less than what students use it for. It works out like less than £5 an hour, which is obviously doesn't even start comparing to private tutors, does it? Yeah. Any other questions in there?
Johnny wants me to do further maths with him.
Johnny, I've seen Johnny really wants you to do further maths. Yeah.
I would love to, but the issue with further maths, well, number one is that I'm already working full-time with my maths students, and so if I was to switch a bit to further maths, I'd have to find someone to replace me a little bit with the normal maths students. But the main reason is that unlike the maths A-level, the further maths A-level is about 12 different units from which you only have to choose 3. So I don't know which 3 you've chosen, and somebody else has chosen a different 3. So in order for me to produce the course, I would basically have to produce 4 or 5 A-levels worth of material so that you could then pick out the bits from the units that your teachers have chosen, which makes it just, it would take me 15 years to create all of the content for it to be really, really good.
So sadly,
I do miss second order differential equations and proper first order differential equations, not the one you get in A-level, although they are fun too. I do miss it, but it's definitely not something on the horizon for me. Sorry, no, I'm not doing that anymore. That is not my life.
Complex numbers. Okay. I think we're pretty much there. Can you work for TT? What are your specialisms, Rama? Teaching a course, I'd say almost certainly come back to me when you've got 10 years experience, and then maybe we can have a chat when you like become the best ever teacher in whatever subject it is that you want to be. Make that your goal, and then come back when you're like world class, and then we'll take you into the team.
There's a lot of people asking about a bursary right now. At the moment, we don't have a system in place for that kind of thing. We are looking into working with some charities who we know work with students to give them access to online resources and that extra help that they wouldn't normally be able to afford, because we don't have systems in place to be able to make assessments and stuff like that. That's why we're looking towards for help from organizations to help us do that. So right now, the answer is no, I would say. Would that be a fair assessment, Rich?
Yeah, I think that's fair. We've like the system that we did have in place for that is basically, it wasn't really fit for purpose at the scale that we're at right now. So we also were asking for, we give schools, if your teacher signs up and signs your entire school up, then we give the courses over to those for free. So we do for every paid student, there's at least one free student out there, but not on an individual level. That's at a school level. We do actually ask those students for donations at the end of the year, but I think because of COVID and the disruption to the school year, we didn't get as many. Those donations then fund our scholarships at the end in the next academic year, but basically we didn't get any funding to host those bursaries. So where the money normally comes from didn't happen because there were no donations from the free users from last year. So we're basically in review right now on that. So right now, try out the free trial for a week, and at the end of the week, you can make your decision as to whether you think that it's the right thing for you.
Yep. Right, well, if we don't see you in our live classes this week, folks, we will see you next Monday, where we'll be talking about something else. I can't remember exactly what that is, but in fact, I can tell you right now. I'm just checking in next week. A-star study habits. I've been looking forward to this one, actually. So, for not just from us, obviously got our advice in there, but advice from students who've been there, done it, and got their A-star. So what is it that A-star students do that set them apart from other students? So we'll be sharing that information with you next week.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
Check out the classes page inside the courses for find out when all the lives are. There's one page for that subject's live classes. All the information is there. If you're not a member, try the free trial.
Yep. See you guys.
Bye.